You think I'm playing, lady? Mitch hissed, raising the blade directly at Iris's face. He wanted her to drop to her knees. He wanted her to beg. Most people did when they realized who he worked for. Instead, Iris Campbell calmly picked up her heavy wooden date stamp. She looked the Mafia enforcer dead in the eye. I think you are incredibly rude, Iris replied, her voice smooth and completely steady. And I think you have a very fragile ego. Now leave, before I make a phone call. Who was this woman? And how had a simple librarian just managed to terrify a Mafia soldier with nothing but a library stamp? Before we find out what happens when the Mafia meets the one woman who refuses to break, make sure to subscribe to our channel right now. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a thrilling story. And please, leave a comment down below letting us know where you are watching this video from. Now, let us dive into the story. Iris Campbell loved order. She loved the smell of old paper. She loved the quiet hum of the community library. To her, books were safe havens. Iris had lived a quiet life. She was raised by her grandmother, Evelyn, a sweet woman who taught her that respect is earned, not demanded. When Evelyn passed away, the library became Iris's whole world. She arrived every morning at exactly 7:30. She unlocked the heavy oak doors. She brewed a pot of chamomile tea. She made sure every book was in its perfect place. People in the neighborhood called her just a librarian. They thought she was fragile because she wore soft sweaters and spoke in quiet tones. They did not know the steel that ran through her spine. The city was changing around her. The local shops were closing. Strange men in expensive cars began parking on the corners. The neighborhood was falling under the shadow of the Black crime family. Everyone knew it. Everyone paid their protection money. Everyone bowed their heads, except Iris. On a rainy Tuesday evening, the library was empty. The rain tapped gently against the large glass windows. Iris was preparing to close up for the night. That was when the heavy front doors slammed open. Mitch walked in with two other men. They did not look like readers. They wore heavy leather jackets. Their boots left tracks of mud on Iris's clean floors. Mitch had a reputation for brutality. Places closed, lady, Mitch barked. He kicked a nearby chair. It scraped loudly against the floor. Iris frowned. She hated when people mistreated the furniture. She walked out from behind her desk. She smoothed down her skirt. We close in 45 minutes, Iris said, her voice clear. And we do not tolerate shouting here. Please lower your voice. Mitch laughed. He looked at his two thugs. Hear that, boys? She wants me to whisper. Listen to me, librarian. My boss needs this building cleared. We have business down the street. Get your coat and get out. Iris did not move. She crossed her arms. No. The word was small, but it hit the room like a thunderclap. Mitch stopped laughing. His face turned red. He stepped closer to her. He pulled out his switchblade. He wanted to see her cry. Instead, Iris just looked at the mud on his boots. Then she looked at the knife. If you cut yourself, do not bleed on the rug, she said calmly. It is antique. Damian Black had entered the library a few minutes prior. He had slipped in through the back entrance to observe the street from the high windows. He did not expect anyone to be downstairs. He certainly did not expect his men to be harassing the staff. Damian was a man of intense discipline. He disliked unnecessary violence and sloppiness. He stood in the shadows. He watched Mitch try to intimidate the woman. Damian reached into his coat, prepared to step in and end the foolishness. But then he heard a response. No. Damian paused. He tilted his head. He looked closely at the woman. She was small. Her hair was pinned up in a neat bun. Her sweater looked soft, but her posture was rigid. She showed absolutely zero fear. Damian watched as Mitch grew furious, raising the knife directly at Iris's face. You think I'm playing, lady? Mitch hissed. I think you are incredibly rude, Iris replied. She walked back to her desk and picked up her heavy wooden date stamp. She looked Mitch dead in the eye. And I think you have a very fragile ego. Now leave, before I make a phone call. Mitch raised his hand to grab her. That is enough, Mitch. The voice came from the dark aisle. It was low. It was quiet, but it carried the weight of an absolute command. Mitch froze. His face went pale. The two thugs behind him instantly dropped their heads. Damian Black stepped out into the light. He was dressed flawlessly. His dark hair was brushed back. His gray eyes were cold as ice. "Boss," Mitch stammered, quickly hiding the knife. We were just clearing the area for you." Damian walked slowly toward the desk. He did not look at Mitch. His eyes were fixed entirely on Iris. "I do not recall ordering you to threaten librarians," Damian said. His voice was silky, yet terrifying. "Go wait in the car." "But boss." Now Damian whispered. Mitch did not say another word. He turned on his heel and left. The heavy doors closed. The library was silent once again. Damian turned his full attention to Iris. He expected her to thank him. He expected her to be relieved. Instead, Iris adjusted her glasses. She looked at Damian's expensive leather shoes. Then she looked at the mud tracks left by his men. "You need to teach your employees some manners," Iris said. She picked up a paper towel and handed it across the desk to the Mafia boss. "And you can start by cleaning up the mud they tracked into my library." Damian stared at the paper towel. For the first time in his life, he was completely speechless. "Do you know who I am?" Damian asked. He was genuinely curious. "I know you are the man responsible for those rude individuals," Iris said. "Therefore, you are responsible for their mess. I do not care what your name is, sir. In this building, the only rules that matter are mine." Damian looked at the paper towel in his hand. Then he looked at Iris. A slow, rare smile spread across his face. "You have courage," Damian said. "Most people run when they see my face." "Books have taught me that monsters are only scary if you let them control you," Iris replied. She sat down and began sorting cards. "Now, if you are not here to borrow a book, I must ask you to leave. I am closing the library." Damian leaned against the wooden counter. He was fascinated. He had met many women, but never anyone like Iris. She was utterly authentic. "What is your name?" Damian asked. "Iris." "Well, Iris," Damian said, his voice softening. "My name is Damian, and I apologize for the dirt. I will ensure it does not happen again." Iris looked up. She saw the sincerity in his gray eyes. She gave a small nod. "Apology accepted, Mr. Damian. Now, please. It is time for me to lock up." Damian stepped back. "Good night, Iris. I suspect I will be seeing you around." Iris did not answer. She simply watched him walk out into the rainy night. But her heart gave a strange, tiny flutter. The next morning, Iris arrived at the library at her usual time. She unlocked the doors, walked inside, and stopped dead in her tracks. The library smelled incredible, like fresh pine and expensive wax. She looked down at the floor. The mud tracks from the night before were completely gone. The wooden floors were polished until they shone like mirrors. On her front desk sat a large, beautiful arrangement of white roses. Next to the flowers was a small box from the best bakery in the city. Inside were two warm, freshly baked croissants and a small note. "For the floor, and for your tea, DB." Iris felt a warmth spread through her cheeks. She shook her head. "The man is a criminal, Iris," she whispered to herself. "Do not get distracted." But she did eat the croissants. They were delicious. As the days passed, a new routine began. Every afternoon at exactly 4 o'clock, Damian Black walked into the library. He did not bring his men. He did not bring his weapons. He wore casual sweaters instead of his sharp suits. He would walk to the fiction section, select a book, and sit at a table near Iris's desk. He would read for 2 hours. He always returned his books to the exact correct shelf. One rainy afternoon, Damian brought 2 cups of hot tea from a local shop. He walked up to the desk and placed 1 cup in front of Iris. "English breakfast," Damian said. 2 sugars. No milk. If I remember correctly from your grandmother Evelyn's old files. Iris looked at the cup. "You looked at my family history?" "I am a businessman," Damian said smoothly. "I like to know who I am dealing with. Your grandmother Evelyn was a wonderful woman. She ran this place for 30 years. Iris's expression softened. She did. She loved this neighborhood. "And so do you," Damian noted. He sat on the edge of her desk. "Why do you stay here, Iris?" This neighborhood is getting dangerous. You could work at a big university." Iris looked out the window. "Because the people here need a safe place, Damian. If I leave, who will keep the doors open for the kids who need a quiet place to study? This library belongs to them. I won't let anyone take it away." Damian looked at her. He saw the fierce passion in her eyes. He realized then that Iris's strength came from a deep desire to protect her community. For a man who lived a life of destruction, Iris's purity was like a beacon of light. He found himself falling for her. But the world Damian lived in did not allow for peace. Damian's rivals were getting desperate. A rival syndicate, led by a ruthless man named Roman Kasparov, wanted to take over Damian's territory. Roman knew he could not defeat Damian in an open war. He needed a weakness. He needed leverage. Roman spies had been watching Damian. They noticed something strange. The cold, unfeeling Don was spending 2 hours every single day in a dusty old library. They saw him talking to the quiet librarian. "The boss has a soft spot." Roman Kasparov laughed when his men told him the news. "A little librarian. How poetic. Ivan, find out who she is. We are going to pay her a visit." Meanwhile, Damian was beginning to realize the danger he was bringing to Iris's doorstep. He knew his enemies were watching. He knew he had to protect her. One evening, as the library was closing, Damian walked up to Iris. His face was serious. The warmth that usually filled his eyes was gone. "Iris," Damian said, "I need you to close the library for the next few days. Take a vacation. Go visit a friend out of town." Iris stopped stacking her books. "Why would I do that?" "It is not safe for you here," Damian said, his voice tense. "Dangerous things are moving in the city. I cannot guarantee your safety if you stay here." Iris stood up straight. She looked at him with that same fierce determination. "Damian, I told you before. I do not run away. This is my library. If your lifestyle is bringing trouble, then you should leave. But I am staying right here." "Iris, listen to me." Damian grabbed her hands. His grip was tight, but gentle. "These people are not like Mitch. They do not care about rules. Roman Kasparov kills people who get in his way." Iris looked down at his hands. Then she looked up into his eyes. She saw the terror in them. But it wasn't terror for himself. It was terror for her. "Then you had better make sure he doesn't get in my way," Iris said softly. Damian stared at her. He realized there was no arguing with her. He released her hands. "Very well," Damian said. "But I am leaving Gideon and my best men outside. They will not bother you. They will just watch the doors." Iris sighed. "Fine. But tell Gideon he cannot park in the delivery zone." The storm broke 2 days later. It was a gray, foggy afternoon. Iris was sorting through a shipment of new novels. Gideon and another guard were parked across the street in a black sedan. Suddenly, a large delivery van pulled up and blocked Gideon's car. 4 men jumped out, armed with weapons. Before Gideon could even react, they were pinned down by heavy gunfire. Iris heard the gunshots. Her heart pounded against her ribs. She didn't panic. She remembered what her grandmother Evelyn always said. Fear is a choice. Courage is an action. She quickly ran to the front doors, turned the heavy brass key, and locked the deadbolt into place. But it was too late. The large glass window at the front of the library shattered. Shards of glass rained down onto the carpet. A heavy iron crowbar smashed through the remaining frame. 3 men climbed through the broken window. They were masked and held pistols. The leader of the group stepped forward and pulled down his mask. It was Roman Kasparov himself, followed closely by his top thug, Ivan. "Where is she?" Roman shouted. Iris stepped out from behind the fiction aisle. She held a heavy metal flashlight in her hand. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "You are breaking and entering," Iris said, "and you have ruined my window." Roman laughed. He walked over to her and grabbed her by the arm. "You're coming with me, sweetheart. Let's see how much Damian Black cares about his little bookworm." "Let go of me," Iris said. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. Suddenly, the front doors of the library exploded inward. The heavy oak was splintered into pieces. Damian Black stepped through the dust. He looked like an angel of death. His eyes were completely black with rage. In his hand, he held a heavy pistol. Behind him stood Gideon, who had broken through the ambush, along with a dozen loyal soldiers. "Put your hands off her, Roman," Damian said. His voice was lower than a whisper. It was the most terrifying sound Iris had ever heard. Roman Kasparov quickly pulled Iris in front of him. He pressed his gun against her temple. "Step back, Black, or the girl dies right here." The room became deathly still. Damian's men raised their weapons. Ivan and Roman's men did the same. Damian looked at Iris. He saw the gun against her head. For the first time in his life, Damian felt true panic. His hands trembled slightly. He could not lose her. "Roman," Damian said, his voice cracking slightly. "Let her go. I will give you the territory. I will give you the docks. Just let her walk away." Roman smiled. He thought he had won. "Drop your weapon first, Damian." Iris looked at Damian. She saw his pain. She saw his love for her. She realized that Damian Black was going to give up everything to save her. He was going to ruin his life for just a librarian. Iris decided she would not let that happen. Roman was focused entirely on Damian. He was mocking him and gloating. He forgot one very important thing. He was holding a woman who spent her life lifting heavy crates of books. Iris was stronger than she looked, and she was completely unbothered by fear. Iris looked down. She saw Roman's foot. He was wearing heavy leather boots, but his stance was wide. He was off balance. Iris raised her right foot and stomped down with all her might on Roman's instep. She wore sensible shoes, but they had thick, hard rubber heels. Crack! Roman screamed in agony. His grip loosened. Before he could recover, Iris drove her elbow backward into his ribs. She felt the breath leave his lungs. But she wasn't done. Iris grabbed the heavy metal flashlight she had been holding. She swung it with perfect precision, connecting directly with the side of Roman's jaw. Thwack! The rival crime lord stumbled backward. He crashed into a display of encyclopedias. The heavy books rained down on top of him. He lay there, dazed and groaning, covered in volumes A through M. Ivan gasped, completely frozen in shock. The entire room stopped. A tiny librarian had just taken down a major crime lord with the flashlight and the heavy foot. Damian recovered first. "Secure them," he shouted. Within seconds, Gideon and the rest of Damian's soldiers swarmed the room. They disarmed Ivan and the other thugs. They dragged Roman out from under the encyclopedias. The threat was over. Damian dropped his gun and rushed over to Iris. He grabbed her shoulders, checking for any injuries. "Are you okay? Did he hurt you?" Damian's voice was frantic. Iris looked down at her flashlight. Then she looked at the broken window and sighed. "I am fine, Damian," she said. "But look at this place. There's glass everywhere. The encyclopedias are out of order. It is an absolute disaster." Damian stared at her. Then he began to laugh. He laughed with pure, unbounded relief. He pulled her into his arms and held her tight against his chest. Iris relaxed, wrapping her arms around his waist. She buried her face in his sweater. It smelled like pine and safety. 2 weeks later, the library reopened. The front window was replaced with beautiful, thick bulletproof glass. The interior was completely renovated with comfortable leather chairs and a brand new children's section. The local neighborhood people came in droves to celebrate. They looked at Iris with a new level of respect. She was no longer just a librarian. She was the protector of the community. At 4 o'clock, the front doors opened. Damian Black walked in. He was dressed in a casual blue shirt. He looked relaxed and happy. Over the past 2 weeks, Damian had handed over much of his daily operations to Gideon. He was stepping away from the dark world. He wanted a quieter life. He walked up to the front desk and placed a beautiful bouquet of wild flowers in front of Iris. "Good afternoon, Iris," Damian said. "Good afternoon, Damian." Iris replied with a warm smile. "Are you here to read?" Damian leaned against the counter and looked into her eyes. "Actually, I am here to ask for a library card. I think I am going to be staying around here for a very long time." Iris smiled. She pulled out a fresh library card, wrote his name on it in her neat handwriting, and handed it to him. "Welcome to the library, Mr. Black," Iris said. "Just remember the rules. No shouting, no mud, and absolutely no weapons. Damian took the card and pressed it to his heart. I promised to follow every single rule, Librarian Iris. They looked at each other, knowing their lives would never be the same. The Mafia boss had found his peace, and the Librarian had found her champion.